What did the Ancient One really see in that moment? Because every time I go back to that Endgame rooftop scene, I notice the same thing. The conversation is important, but her face is the real story. Bruce is talking, the timeline rules are being explained, the time stone is floating between worlds, and then one sentence lands like a cosmic earthquake. Strange gave it away. He gave it to Thanos. The Ancient One doesn't just look surprised. She looks disturbed, not confused, not skeptical, disturbed. And I think that expression is one of the most underrated pieces of future reading in the entire MCU. Not because she literally saw Dr. Doom standing in the shadows right there, but because in that instant, she may have realized something far more terrifying. Stephen Strange eventually reaches a future so extreme, so impossible, that he does the one thing she would never do. He surrenders the time stone willingly. And once that truth hits her, the entire structure of what she thought reality was supposed to be starts collapsing in her mind. To understand why that reaction matters so much, we have to slow the scene down and really sit inside her perspective. For the Ancient One, the Time Stone is not just a glowing weapon or a collectible infinity MacGuffin. It is a sacred line of defense. It is one of the anchors keeping Earth protected from forces most people will never even know exist. She has spent years guarding reality by making impossible decisions, carrying impossible knowledge, and quietly holding back chaos from dimensions stacked on top of dimensions. So when Bruce tells her that Stephen Strange, the man she has already sensed as her eventual successor, doesn't merely lose the stone, but chooses to hand it to Thanos, that should sound absurd to her. It should sound like a contradiction in the laws of sorcery. In her worldview, there are only two possibilities. Either Stephen failed in the worst possible way, or he saw something beyond her understanding and acted accordingly. And the second possibility is actually more frightening than the first. That fear becomes even heavier once you remember one crucial rule from Doctor Strange. The Ancient One could see many futures, but she could never see past her own death. That limitation changes everything. It means she likely saw Stephen's arrival, his talent, his arrogance, his transformation, maybe even the shape of his rise. But she did not get to watch the full chain of events that leads into Infinity War and Endgame. Her vision ends before the war truly begins. So when Bruce appears in front of her carrying knowledge from beyond the horizon she was never allowed to cross, she is hearing from the blind spot in her own cosmic map. That is why her reaction feels so layered. It is not just, oh, Strange became important. It is more like, after I was gone, reality entered territory I was never meant to witness, and Stephen went farther into it than I ever could. That's why her line about Strange being the best of us lands with so much weight. It is not praise, it is surrender. And once you view the scene that way, the fear on her face starts to make even more sense. I think there are 3 levels to it, and the first one is pure cosmic dread. Before Bruce says Strange's name, the Ancient One thinks she is dealing with a contained problem. Her framework is simple. Remove a stone from its place, and you create a dangerous branch timeline. Without the stone, that branch becomes vulnerable to darkness. It is a clean, mystical equation. But Bruce's revelation blows that equation apart. Suddenly, the problem is not that the time stone might be taken. The problem is that in the correct future, it had to be surrendered. That means the winning path itself already required what should have been an unacceptable loss. In other words, the stone was not protected to save reality. Losing the stone was somehow part of saving reality. And for someone whose entire life has been built around guarding these cosmic constants, that realization is horrifying. The second layer of fear is much more personal and honestly much more human. The Ancient One is wise, but she is also deeply control-oriented. She has spent years bending impossible situations into manageable outcomes. She studies patterns, manipulates time, and carries herself with the quiet confidence of someone who usually understands more than everyone else in the room. Then, Bruce tells her that Stephen Strange, the brilliant but reckless surgeon she recruited, eventually makes a decision she herself would never approve. And somehow, that decision turns out to be necessary. That is not just shocking, it is destabilizing. Because it means Strange did not merely inherit her role. He surpassed the limits of her framework. He reached a conclusion she could not have predicted and trusted a path she would have rejected. That kind of revelation is not flattering. It is existential. The fear in her expression is not just fear of Thanos. It is the terror of losing certainty. And for a guardian of reality, certainty is everything. The third layer is where the theory gets really interesting, because I do not think the Ancient One needed a full cinematic vision of the future to understand the danger. She does not read time like she is watching a Blu-ray of events that haven't happened yet. She reads trajectories, spiritual pressure, possibilities, and patterns. So, when Bruce says that Strange gave the stone away willingly, I think she instantly begins connecting invisible lines. Stephen survives his training. Stephen becomes Sorcerer Supreme. Stephen sees beyond her blind horizon. Stephen chooses surrender over defense. If all of that is true, then the threat waiting ahead cannot just be another invasion or another dark dimension. It has to be something bigger, something that breaks normal cause and effect, something that forces the protector of time to weaponize loss itself. And that is exactly where this scene becomes such a fascinating doorway into the multiverse saga. Because no, canonically, there is no proof that she saw Dr. Doom's face in that exact second. I want to be very clear about that. But I absolutely think it is possible she felt the shadow of a future where a Doom-like force becomes inevitable. And that distinction matters. She doesn't need to see Victor Von Doom sitting on a throne to sense that the road ahead leads toward a kind of conflict she would recognize as catastrophic. My theory is simple. The Ancient One did not see Doom directly. She felt the pressure of a future in which someone like Doom becomes the natural endpoint. A world where timelines have been stretched, realities have been wounded, and the boundaries between science, sorcery, and control have started collapsing into each other. And if you think about what Dr. Doom represents inside the MCU's emerging shape, that possibility becomes incredibly compelling. Because Doom is not just another villain. Doom is basically the nightmare fusion of multiple archetypes the MCU has already taught us to fear and admire. He carries Strange-like occult intelligence, Stark-like scientific genius, and an obsession with control that makes both of them look almost humble by comparison. He is what happens when brilliance decides it no longer wants to serve reality, but rule it. And that matters because if the Ancient One suddenly realizes that Stephen had to choose a path built on surrender, compromise, and temporal damage, then the obvious next thought is terrifying. What kind of future enemy requires this much spiritual debt just to delay disaster? Thanos suddenly stops feeling like the endpoint and starts feeling like the opening catastrophe. The thing you survive before the real structural collapse begins. And if that is what the Ancient One felt in that moment, then her expression was never really fear of Thanos. It was fear of what comes after the stones. That is exactly why I think this Endgame scene can be reinterpreted as retroactive foreshadowing for Avengers Doomsday. Not because Marvel definitely planned every single detail back then, but because the scene now fits eerily well with where the saga is heading. Think about it. Strange's one winning future may have only been the winning future for the Infinity Saga. not the final victory condition for the multiverse saga. In other words, Strange did not save reality forever. He kept it alive long enough to reach the next nightmare. He chose the timeline where Thanos could be beaten, yes, but maybe that victory only preserved a fractured universe that would later become vulnerable to incursions, overlap, and a power-hungry mind capable of exploiting both. That possibility transformed Strange's decision from a clean, heroic sacrifice into something much darker and much more expensive. And if the Ancient One understood even a fraction of that, her fear suddenly feels prophetic. Her actual dialogue supports this reading more than people realize. Notice what she does not say. She does not smile and say, "Then all will be well." She does not say, "Stephen must know what he is doing, so there is nothing to worry about." She says, "I fear you might be right." That word matters. Fear. If this were just simple trust in Strange, the emotion would not land there. Fear implies scale. Fear implies consequences too large to comfortably imagine. Fear implies that if Stephen really did choose this path, then the reality waiting beyond her lifetime must have become unimaginably dangerous. And in MCU language, that kind of danger is exactly where incursions, multiversal collisions, and doom-level stakes begin to live. It is not just one villain arriving, it is the architecture of existence itself becoming unstable. And that brings me to the incursion angle, which I think is the strongest hidden connection in the whole theory. The Ancient One understands the metaphysics of timeline damage better than almost anyone. If she processes Bruce's story in real time, then she can likely infer several horrifying truths all at once. The Time Stone will be lost. Infinity Stones will be displaced from their native points. Branches will form. Branches will be repaired. Outliers like Loki will slip free. The natural order will be violated repeatedly by people acting out of necessity. And if all of that is true, then linear time is no longer the dominant shape of reality. Once enough fractures stack on top of each other, worlds stop staying politely separated. They begin to touch. They begin to bleed. That is incursion logic in its earliest spiritual form. So no, I do not think she watched a montage of universes crashing together. But I do think she may have felt the architecture of that future pressing against the walls of her understanding. There is also a more poetic reading that I honestly love. I think the Ancient One may not just be listening to Bruce's words, she may be sensing the energetic residue of the future he comes from. Remember who is standing in front of her. This is not normal Bruce Banner. This is a man carrying the emotional and metaphysical aftershock of a broken timeline. He comes from a future where half the universe died, where the Avengers shattered, where Strange turned to dust, where Tony is racing toward his own death, and where the only available solution involves violating time itself. Bruce is basically walking into her sanctum with Apocalypse still clinging to his soul. And if she can read more than language, if she can sense spiritual dissonance, temporal stress, cosmic trauma, then she is not just hearing about the future, she is feeling it. And inside that feeling, maybe she senses not a face, but a shape, fracture, overlap, cold intellect, control, inevitability. Something Doom-like before Doom even has a name. That is why, to me, the most important part of the scene is not that she changes her mind. It is why she changes her mind. She does not hand over the Time Stone because Bruce simply wins an argument. She hands it over because she realizes he is not lying, and more importantly, because she chooses to trust Stephen Strange across time. That is the emotional core people miss. She is not placing faith in the Avengers as a team or in Bruce as a scientist. She is placing faith in her future successor before his legend is even complete. She accepts that the student she helped set on this path eventually sees farther than she ever could. And in doing so, she passes the torch in the most haunting way possible, by trusting a decision that terrifies her. That is beautiful, tragic, and incredibly powerful. And honestly, that interpretation makes the scene even sadder. The Ancient One has spent her whole life trying to preserve order. But in that instant, she may understand that the next era of heroes will not be allowed to protect reality cleanly. They are going to have to scar it to save it. They are going to have to make compromises so ugly that even victory will leave cracks behind. That is the hidden tragedy of Strange's choice. He doesn't beat fate. He bargains with it. He buys time. And if Doomsday really leans into that idea, then this Endgame scene becomes the exact kind of subtle MCU setup people only appreciate years later. It turns a single facial expression into a warning from a master who, for one brief second, can feel the universe moving toward a shape even she cannot stop. Not a monster she can name, not a battle she can map, but a future where the cost of survival keeps compounding until someone brilliant enough and ruthless enough decides the only answer is total control. And that, to me, is why her silence is louder than speeches in Marvel. Sometimes the scariest prophecy is not a vision. Sometimes it is the moment a guardian suddenly realizes history has stepped beyond the limits of what she thought she understood. So here's my full theory in one line. The Ancient One did not see Dr. Doom. She saw the price of reaching him. She felt that the future after Thanos was not healed, only delayed. She understood that Strange's impossible choice meant reality would survive by becoming vulnerable, that timelines would fracture, that universes could eventually overlap, and that somewhere down that road, a new kind of threat would emerge. One built not just on destruction, but on mastery, control, and the weaponization of broken worlds. That is why this little in-game exchange feels so much bigger in hindsight. It is not just a time heist explanation scene. It is a moment where one of the MCU's wisest characters silently realizes that the war she thought mattered most was only the beginning. What if Avengers Endgame was never truly the end, but the beginning of something bigger? Re-release isn't just adding deleted scenes. Rumors suggest new footage with returning casts like Tony, Steve, Thor, and Ant-Man. Even bigger, a Doctor Doom post-credit scene might directly connect Endgame to Avengers Doomsday, which reportedly starts right where it ended. Imagine new scenes hinting Tony's snap-fractured reality, Ant-Man discovering Doom in the quantum realm, and Steve uncovering hidden timelines. This re-release could reset the story, letting fans jump straight from Endgame into the next saga where Doom was always watching. This video is way more interesting than the theories we were listening on internet, so watch this video till the end. Let's get started. Okay, now listen this. It's official that Avengers Endgame is re-releasing on 25th of September 2026, with the new scenes, deleted scenes, and most importantly, special connections to Avengers Doomsday. I still remember the silence in the theater when Tony Stark snapped his fingers. It wasn't just the end of a battle. It felt like the end of an era, a closing chapter that Marvel carefully sealed. But now, years later, whispers about the September 2026 re-release of Avengers Endgame are starting to feel less like nostalgia and more like something deliberate, something planned. Because this isn't just a re-release. The rumors suggest added scenes, deleted moments restored, and most importantly, entirely new footage shot with returning cast members. And suddenly, that ending doesn't feel so final anymore. It feels like a bridge, a hidden doorway, a carefully disguised beginning. Think about it, why now? Why bring Endgame back to theaters in such a massive way unless it serves a larger purpose? Marvel has never done anything randomly. Every post-credit scene, every cameo, every throwaway line has always led somewhere. And if reports are true that almost the entire cast is returning except Natasha, then this isn't just about honoring the past. It's about rewriting how we see it. Imagine new scenes of Steve Rogers, perhaps not just as the old man we saw at the lake, but something more. Something that hints at his involvement in future events. Or Tony Stark, yes, Tony Stark appearing in newly filmed sequences that don't undo his sacrifice, but expand its consequences. Because what if his snap didn't just defeat Thanos? What if it fractured something deeper? And that's where the theory starts getting unsettling, because there's one name that keeps coming up in these rumors: Doctor Doom. Not Kang. Not some distant cosmic threat. Doom. And if a post-credit scene featuring Doctor Doom is truly being added to Endgame, then everything changes. Because that would mean Doom's story doesn't begin in some future film. It begins here, at the exact moment the Infinity Saga ended. And that's not a coincidence. That's a recontextualization. A shift that tells us we've been looking at the timeline all wrong. Let's go back to the snap. Tony Stark used the Infinity Stones to erase Thanos and his army, but the stones aren't just weapons. They're fundamental forces of reality. Space, time, reality, power, mind, soul. When all of them are used at once, at that scale, the result shouldn't just be a clean erasure. It should ripple. It should tear through dimensions. And what if it did? What if Tony's snap didn't just save the universe, but exposed it, opened it, created fractures that something or someone was waiting to exploit? This is where Ant-Man becomes crucial. There are strong rumors that new scenes might show Scott Lang exploring the quantum realm again, possibly discovering something he wasn't meant to see. And if you've been paying attention, the quantum realm has always been more than just a time travel tool. It's unstable. It's layered. It connects realities in ways we barely understand. So imagine this. Scott, during a post-Endgame exploration, glimpses a figure. Not Kang. Not a variant. Someone else. Watching. Studying. Waiting. Doctor Doom. Now think about what that means. Doom isn't just entering the MCU randomly. He's been observing it from the shadows since the moment reality was weakened. That would make him different from every villain we've seen before. Not a conqueror arriving late, but an architect who saw the cracks form and decided to build something new through them. And suddenly, those rumored new scenes with Thor or other surviving Avengers start to feel less like fan service and more like setup. Thor, especially, is a character who has dealt with cosmic forces, ancient knowledge, and realms beyond human understanding. What if a new scene shows him sensing something wrong, not immediately after the battle, but later? A lingering imbalance, a feeling that the universe didn't fully heal, that something was left behind, or perhaps something new was born. Now let's talk about Steve Rogers again, because his ending always felt peaceful, but also incomplete. He lived his life, passed on the shield, and that was it. But if Marvel is bringing him back for newly shot scenes, they wouldn't waste that opportunity. Imagine this instead. A scene where older Steve, after returning the stones, encounters something unexpected during his journey through time, maybe a place he wasn't meant to visit. A timeline that didn't behave the way it should. A presence that shouldn't exist. And what if that presence is Doom, already experimenting with the fractures caused by the stones? Because Doom isn't just a villain, he's a genius, a strategist, someone who would absolutely understand the power vacuum left after Thanos and see it not as an opportunity, but as a responsibility. In his mind, the universe isn't broken, it's inefficient, and he's the one who can fix it. This leads us to the biggest reveal hidden within this entire theory. Avengers Doomsday doesn't start as a new story. It continues Endgame, directly, seamlessly, no confusion, no need to follow every series or film that came after, just a straight line from the moment Tony snapped to the moment Doom makes his move. And that's exactly why this re-release matters so much. Marvel knows a huge part of its audience disconnected after Endgame. The emotional closure was so strong that many felt there was no reason to keep going. But what if this re-release isn't just bringing them back, it's reconnecting them to the story in the simplest way possible? By saying, you don't need to catch up, you don't need to watch everything in between. Just come back to where it all ended, and we'll take you forward from there. That's powerful. That's strategic. And honestly, that's very Marvel. Now imagine sitting in the theater in September 2026. You're watching Endgame again. The same battles, the same sacrifices, the same ending. But then, things start to feel different. A new scene here. A lingering shot there, a moment that wasn't there before. And by the time the credits roll, you're not feeling closure anymore. You're feeling anticipation. Because then, the post-credit scene begins, not with chaos, not with destruction, but with silence. A dark chamber, metallic, ancient, yet advanced, and in the center, a figure, masked, still, watching something, perhaps a projection of the final battle, of Tony's snap, and then, slowly, he speaks. Not in anger, not in fear, but with certainty, as if everything that just happened went exactly as he expected. Dr. Doom. No grand introduction, no explanation, just presence. And in that moment, everything clicks. Endgame wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something far more controlled, far more dangerous, because Thanos wanted balance, but Doom wants perfection. And perfection doesn't ask for permission, it takes control. So when Avengers Doomsday begins, it won't feel like a new chapter. It'll feel like the continuation of a story we thought we already understood, except now, every sacrifice, every victory, every moment in Endgame carries a new weight, because behind it all, someone was watching, learning, preparing, and the scariest part? We may have helped him succeed. What if Dr. Doom kidnaps Franklin Richards to steal godlike powers? What if the Avengers have to race Doom to Loki, who is now the last hope holding the multiverse together? And what if the X-Men, Thunderbolts, and even the TVA all get pulled into a three-front battle across time, space, and entire realities? That's what today's wild new leak claims is happening in Avengers Doomsday. And honestly, it sounds epic. But the real question is, does this leak line up with what we already know about the multiverse saga? And could it be teasing Marvel's most ambitious crossover ever, possibly even beyond Endgame? Let's break it all down. Because if this turns out to be true, we're heading straight for a battle world like nothing we've seen before. Alright, here's the scoop. This leak comes from Insider James, a name you might recognize for accurately leaking major plot details from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness before it came out. And now, he's claiming that the design team for Avengers Doomsday is already working on concept art for a massive battle at Mansion X. Yeah, that's right, the X-Men's home turf. Unbox PhD, who's been flying drones over Marvel's sets for months, has actually caught images of this exact set. And reportedly, the artwork being developed right now is literally titled Invincible Avengers. So who are these Invincible Avengers? Why are they at the X-Mansion? What's this Universe X Doom has taken Franklin Richards to? And how the hell does Loki factor into all of this? Let's dive in. So, in this leak, the Invincible Avengers are the team assembled to deal with an incursion, the catastrophic collapse of two universes into each other, and also to rescue Monica Rambeau. Remember her from the Marvels? Well, she's reportedly trapped in an alternate universe, and this team has to save her. But here's the kicker. Their mission evolves. It becomes about protecting Loki, who is at the Citadel at the end of time, aka the TVA's mysterious headquarters, and he is now the most important person in the multiverse. Let's pause right there. Think about it. Loki, at the end of Loki Season 2, is literally shown holding together the multiverse. He's woven into the very fabric of reality, like some kind of multiversal god. So naturally, Doom wants him, and not to shake hands and be friends. This is where the real conflict begins. It's a race to Loki. Doom is after him for reasons we'll unpack in a second, and the Avengers? They need to get to him first. Not to fight him, but to protect him. Here's where the emotional stakes ramp up. Imagine Thor, maybe not even the Thor we know, but a variant, believes Loki is once again up to no good. Classic misdirection. But then, Mobius or someone from the TVA pulls Thor aside and shows him everything Loki's done. And that's when Thor realizes his brother isn't the villain this time. He's the savior. So who exactly are the Invincible Avengers? According to the leak, the team includes Sam Wilson, our new Captain America, Thor, Captain Marvel, Shang-Chi, Ant-Man, She-Hulk, Yelena Belova, Bucky Barnes, Hulk, Bruce Banner, Shuri, Baku, Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, and the Fantastic Four. Wait, why the Fantastic Four? Because Doom has kidnapped Franklin Richards. Yeah, Franklin, the child of Reed Richards and Sue Storm. And the leak says Doom has taken him to a place called Universe X. That name might ring a bell if you're into comics. Universe X is a sequel to Earth X, a dystopian Marvel storyline where literally everyone ends up with powers thanks to Terrigen Mist. Now, while the plot of Earth X doesn't really line up with what Marvel's doing in the multiverse saga, the name alone gives us a clue. We're not in our universe anymore. This could be a code name for the X-Men universe. Let that sink in. Doom is hopping universes, kidnapping Franklin Richards and taking him to the X-Men's world, possibly to experiment on him, or worse, absorb his universal-level powers. Because here's the twist. The leak says Doom will become God Emperor Doom. Fans of the comics will know that's not just a fancy title. God Emperor Doom literally reshaped reality using multiversal power. In Secret Wars 2015, he stole the Beyonder's energy and stitched together fragments of broken universes into Battleworld, a patchwork planet of chaos ruled with an iron fist. How did he get so powerful in the first place? In this theory, Franklin Richards, the kid has been shown in the comics to create entire universes. So if Doom captures him and channels that power, boom, God-tier villain achieved. But that's just one front of this multiversal war. While the Invincible Avengers are trying to protect Loki and save Monica. Meanwhile, on Earth 616, John Walker, U.S. agent, Ghost, Red Guardian, and other Thunderbolts are defending the planet from an unknown invasion. And they're not alone. The Thunderbolts join forces with Wakanda, Talakan, and the Sorcerers led by Wong to protect Earth. Another team, another battlefield. And then, yes, there's more. The X-Men are engaged in a battle of their own. One where they're fighting Sentinels, giant mutant hunting machines. But here's the twist. They're being controlled by Doom. So that's 3 fronts, 3 wars, all happening at the same time. Loki's protection at the TVA, Earth's defense by Thunderbolts, plus Wakanda, plus Talokan, plus Sorcerers, X-Men versus Doom-controlled Sentinels. Sounds familiar? That's because this is a clear structural echo of Avengers Infinity War. Multiple teams fighting simultaneous battles in different corners of the universe, all leading toward a single converging climax. And guess what? This movie is being directed by the Russo brothers. And one of the writers is Stephen McFeely, the same team behind Infinity War and Endgame. So yeah, this isn't just theory. This is intentional design. Now let's revisit the Fantastic Four again, because another major piece connects them to this plot. A leak for their upcoming movie claims that in the post-credits scene, we'll see Sue Storm briefly step away from Franklin, only to return and find Dr. Doom sitting beside her son. Chilling, right? That leak aligns perfectly with this Doomsday report. Doom takes Franklin, disappears, and then reappears in Avengers Doomsday with unimaginable power. And if Franklin really is that powerful, Doom may use him to reshape the multiverse in his image. But here's the catch. Doom's motivation isn't just evil for evil's sake. Like in the comics, he believes he's saving the multiverse. He thinks he's the only one capable of fixing it. And the only way to do that is to rip it apart and rebuild it. Classic Doom logic. But that's what makes him compelling. He doesn't see himself as a villain. He sees himself as a god doing what no one else can. And that's what sets up the final conflict. All these battles, all these teams, all leading to a final showdown. The leak suggests that all these groups will eventually converge at the TVA. That's where Doom will try to take Loki's power, or maybe even Franklin's power, through Loki and unleash Battleworld. If you're wondering whether we'll get variants, the answer seems to be yes, because the TVA can pull in variants from across the multiverse. And if they're in danger, they might call on anyone, any version of a hero to stop Doom. That means alternate Spider-Men, mutants from Fox's universe, legacy MCU characters in variant forms, and yes, even dead characters brought back as variants. If they go full Secret Wars, this could be the moment Marvel fans have dreamed of. And just imagine, Tony Stark and Steve Rogers variants returning for one last war. So what's the endgame? According to several industry rumors, Avengers Doomsday leads directly into Secret Wars. If Doom becomes God Emperor Doom in this movie, then Secret Wars becomes the story of taking him down and stitching the multiverse back together. It's the reverse of the Infinity Saga. Instead of building up to one timeline, we're collapsing all timelines, all universes, all realities into one. Here's where it gets philosophical. What happens after the multiverse dies? According to reports, after Secret Wars, Marvel may move away from the multiverse concept entirely. One timeline, one universe, one cohesive MCU again, which makes Doomsday the literal and symbolic end of the multiverse era. Now you see why this leak is so important. If true, Avengers Doomsday is the most narratively rich, multi-layered, emotionally charged, and visually ambitious movie Marvel has ever attempted. It's got the emotional reconciliation of Thor and Loki. It's got Doom rising from a man to a god. It's got the Avengers fractured across time and space. It's got the X-Men finally entering the main stage. It's got legacy characters, new blood, world-ending stakes. And maybe, just maybe, it'll remind fans why they fell in love with the MCU in the first place. But now, over to you. Do you think this leak is real? Do you want to see Dr. Doom become God Emperor Doom? Which heroes should make the final battle roster? And could Loki truly be the key to saving or dooming the multiverse? Let's talk about it in the comments below. And if you're hyped for the future of the MCU, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We've got theories, breakdowns, and deep dives coming every week. Until next time, remember, we're in the endgame of the multiverse now.